Hey, what's up, guys? I just finished doing a training this morning for about 300 realtors in Atlanta, and what we were talking about is really getting back to fundamentals, getting back to sales skills, and it, of course, comes down to asking questions. So I thought I'd share with you a little bit about the presentation that we did today, so hopefully it will help you as you work on selling your product, your offer in your market today. What was good about working with real estate agents today was that with the market the way it is right now, it's been very competitive. It's been a very strong market. So it has felt like you don't need to do sales training because everybody's looking to buy and sell and the market's very busy. But what happens when you have a strong market, oftentimes it creates weak skills. So now that the market is starting to shift, they've come and said, hey, can we get back into some sales training because we really want to make sure that we're staying competitive. And in these kinds of competitive markets where there's lots of people doing what you do, it feels like it's tougher, but it's actually putting you in a really good position if you work on yourself and you work on these sales skills. And that's why we went back to dealing with questions and how to build conversations. And it reminded me, and this is what I shared with them, is that when my wife started her business a few years ago, she started an online ballet company. She's a ballerina and started to teach people. And we built a studio, we did all the stuff, got our business rolling, and I started to coach her at the beginning on some of the business side of it. And if you've ever worked with your partner, you know that coaching them sometimes doesn't go very well, whoever's doing it. So that was a bit difficult. But about 6 months into her business, she came to me and said, hey, you know what? Your advice is getting better. And I laughed because I said to her, I was like, my advice hasn't changed, but you've changed. You're in a different headspace now. You're seeing your business through a different lens of experience and knowledge so that now the advice I'm giving you can resonate, which is why I always come back to talking about questions, talking about conversations, because no matter what's going on out there, and right now we're in this era of AI and ChatGPT and all these things are changing, but fundamental human conversations are still always going to be the same. So if you can build those skills, you're going to be in a really good position. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about what we talked about. So let's talk about this. The first thing I told them is that about learning. One of the things that we do a lot in education is talk about the Bloom's taxonomy of learning. And that is these. At the very lowest level, you're just remembering stuff. That's where you remember like open book exams where you could go and just try and remember something and fill in the blank. Then you say, look, I know it. So if you've ever done that in your business, that's a tough one. Now, do you really understand that material and how are you applying that material? That's the lowest level. As you go further, now you learn how to analyze. Well, what happened there, right? What was good, what was bad when you're evaluating? And then at the highest level, what can you create based on what you've been learning? So that's really how education works. That's how learning works. So if you're going to create any programs, you're going to create any training, you want to think, are we just getting people to watch something and remember it and regurgitate it? Or are we helping them apply it, understand it, evaluate it, and get further into creating something for themselves? So if we apply this sort of same thinking, I've done this with the sales process, this is what it can look like. At the very lowest level, are you just repeating? Are you just using your script? Are you able to use your script in different ways? Can you be adaptable depending on what the customer says? If they say this, then I do that. That's where we start to get adaptable. And then on the top side is, can you create stuff? Can you anticipate what they're going to say? How are you building things so that when you know these things typically happen in your sales conversation, how can you anticipate that and have something already pre-built, not to just solve the problem, but to know that you are ahead of this so that you're figuring out the ways that these things work. And at the very high level, how can we influence them? And that comes from who we are as people. So that's where you're setting your intentions, your mindset, all that kind of stuff. But let's look at it. At the very lowest level, this is where you just have your scripts. And I do believe in scripts, but I really, we did an activity on how actors learn scripts and how improv works. So when you're looking at scripts, think about how you can make it your own, make it natural, not be weird, right? So that you know how to repeat things in a way that makes you natural. But once you start to understand your scripts, can you have multiple pathways? So when you're going this direction, can you go these other ways using those if-then scenarios? So look at what you already have written, and do you have a little bit of flexibility there? Then you start to use intuition. So you know things are going to happen in certain ways. So now you take your standard messages, and rather than pathways, you start to know which pieces you can deploy in very strategic ways. That's when then you start to use that conversation roadmap. You start to use ways to create offers in the moment using their language, understanding how to position your offer in a way that they're going to resonate with. And then you start to see those opportunities. While they're speaking, you start to anticipate, you see the future of where we're going, so you can start to guide the conversation still while using your framework. And of course, at the very top is you're looking at how to be able to uncover their motivations, how to uncover their language, so that before you present, you're building a pathway so that you're using their language to help them understand what they need. So this is why I talk about this, is because now you should be thinking in your sales conversations, how am I building these multiple pathways, and how am I making it so that it's not all over the place, it follows a process, but it's not making me feel super scrambled, okay? And on the other side of it, this is why I think coaching is so important. Training can help you understand how to get to that level, but then coaching is helping you understand what to do with it. And that's why I spend a lot of time doing training, to give stuff like this so that people understand those foundations and how to build this stuff, so that when we do coaching, it's much more meaningful. When we did the session today, we did a whole bunch of role plays using these frameworks and helped to create those ahas on what's going on, so that by the end of it, we created really cool language that they could use and go and apply, right? Now, when we think about motivations, I put this together, but let's go through them. Let's just rip through these really quickly, and you guys will have a printout of this at the end of the video you can download, because this is kind of fun, and I found all these cute little characters. But if you think about what people are motivated by, right? They're either thinking, how does this make me look? This is going to make me look in the eyes of somebody else, right? I've always wanted to have this thing, right? I need to atone for something I've done before, right? I'm making a stand against something that makes me feel this way, and I just want to feel really good, right? Or this will make me feel safer, right? These are all motivations that people have. Maybe I'm a shopper who likes to forget my problems. Oh, I'm going to go buy that new TV because now I don't have to think about the other stuff that I have to do that day, right? How do I make a statement? How do I say, look at what I've done? How do I feel better about myself? And of course, maybe I deserve this. So these are all common motivations that people have and your clients have. So when you're going through questions, if you can uncover a statement like that, then you can start to position your offer to support that motivation. Hope that makes sense for you. Now, let's talk about questions. This is really what we're getting at here. I'm trying to keep this to a point where you can do something with it. The biggest thing about this is questions will help them cognitively reframe the problem. If they don't fully understand their problem, it's really hard for you to provide a solution. And likewise, if they state a problem and you just rush to solve it, you're putting yourself in a position where you're not going to help them solve it. You're the one providing the solution. So there's a big difference there. When you get them to see the problem through your eyes, it's much easier for you to position through their language how you're going to help them. And so, I listen to a lot of sales calls. I do a lot of coaching, a lot of work with people. And the thing that I notice all the time in sales calls, these are the two things that happen. One is somebody missed the opportunity to ask a really good question. What that means is your client, your customer has said something to you, but because in your mind, you have to get somewhere, you miss the opportunity to stay in this position, be intentional, be present, and focus on what they said. When you said this, what happened there? How did that go? What happens if you do this? What happens if you don't? So you're asking really good questions about the stuff they shared before you rush to solve. The other thing that can happen is we either share good information at the wrong time or wrong information at the right time. And you've probably run into that as a buyer yourself somewhere, where somebody's just giving you something and it feels really like disconnected from what you're doing, and instantly your spidey sense goes up and you start to feel like you're being sold to. That's when it starts to feel weird as a customer, right? So when we think about this is the process I want you to look at for yourself. This is what we work on. is there's 3 levels of questions, and think about the way you ask. So you might have in your existing process, you might have a list of questions that you already ask. So take those questions and do some deeper work on this stuff. So level 1 questions are really exploratory. I want to know what's going on. And what I'm trying to do is direct my question to figure something out that you're saying. Now you're going to tell me something as the client that's going to make me go, I need to know more about that. So I'm paying attention. I got to be present and really taking notes. So I go, okay. When I get to that point where I go, okay, I need to know more. Now, how do I expand on the thing they said? Right? How do I take that further? So when you said this, can you help me understand what was happening with that? Okay. Because now I'm taking more notes. I'm demonstrating my understanding so that then I can ask a level 3 sort of reframing question. So what I'm hearing from you is it's going like this and going like this. Am I correct to assume this is happening? Because now what I'm trying to do is I start with this exploratory question so that I can expand to understand what the full scope of this problem is, which allows me then to build a reframing question, leading them towards the insight of my offer. And this is the mistake that most people make, is we want to lead them to our offer, not with the offer. If you just go in and rush to solve their problem, it's them versus you. However, if you take this collaborative approach by listening, understanding, and this doesn't have to take a long time, you're going to go in and just ask questions, really understand it, reframe before you share that insight and lead them to the thing that you want to tell them. So you might have a really good service offering, you might have a really good way that you handle a specific thing, but if you just list that at the beginning, they're going to say, okay, I'm being sold to, now I have to listen to this pitch. However, if you ask some questions and you help them reframe it, you go, oh, you know what? That's great, because in what we do, it goes like this, because when you said this, it really means this in the way that we help. So I think we're really well suited to help you solve that. So that's why we're doing it in this way. So look at your business in that way. Make sure you're taking notes. Make sure you're showing understanding. I took a ton of notes today, even in our session while we were doing role plays. And I know when I start to get heavy on the notes that I'm really excited about what the other person's saying, and they can feel that excitement. They feel like I'm caring for them in what I'm doing. So this is, of course, I just love pictures of dogs. The best gift you can give someone is ask those questions. Show them that you really care about what they're saying. Be present with them and make sure that you're thoughtful in the way you work them through it. So what I'd ask you to do here is use I call it a 3-part conversation. And in that 3-part conversation, I can include a link to this as well, is do these things. Three things. It's short for things. Review your current questions, whatever questions that you currently ask. Now, think about what you would ask that would build on those questions. What are your common answers that they give you? How do you take that further? How do you ask for clarification, understanding, show that you're listening, and then think about the insights that you want to share that will lead them to your offer. So how do you reframe the stuff and lead them back towards you? So hopefully that helps. I know that's a lot of stuff we went through, but I really want you to think about the stuff that you do day in, day out, the if-then type statements that you want to create. You can really navigate a conversation very skillfully by asking questions, paying attention, taking it deeper, and then reframing it back to your offer rather than just showing up and pitching them. I call it, the deep breath and pitch. So I hope that helps. If you have questions, let me know. I'm going to include some resources down below. Talk to you soon. Hey, this is Joe Girard with Change Grow Achieve. Thanks for checking this out. Remember to subscribe and check out some of the other videos and resources we have. As a sales coach, I spend a lot of my time just helping people be less weird and more human with their customers. If we can help you and your high-performing team, reach out to us, let us know, and let's connect soon.